Namaste Bharat, I am Umesh Kumar Jha and you are watching India Live, and I have brought for you some new big news of country. So stay with me till the end of the video and see full report. First news is about virtual address at the G20 Education Ministers meeting in Pune. G20 countries can undertake skill mapping at the global level, find gaps that need to be plugged and also play a key role in promoting research and innovation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Thursday. During a virtual address at the G20 Education Ministers meeting in Pune, he stressed the need to strike the right balance between opportunities offered by technology and the challenges posed by it. At the meeting, the G20 ministers will formally accept the outcome documents marking the culmination of the extensive deliberations carried out over the past several months within the education serving working group track. These outcome documents will serve as a roadmap for the international community guiding coordinated action to ensure inclusive and high quality education for all learners. The education working group focused on finding inclusive solutions and collective actions to address the diverse global challenges of the day during four meetings in Chennai, Amritsar, Bhubaneswar and Pune. It emphasized on four priority areas: ensuring fundamental literacy and numeracy, especially in the context of blended learning, making tech-enabled learning more inclusive, qualitative and collaborative, building capacities and promoting lifelong learning in the context of the future of work, and strengthening research and fostering innovation through enhanced collaboration and partnerships. Next news is about yoga and business go hand in hand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday described yoga as truly universal and free from copyrights and patents as he led a historic event at the UN headquarters in New York to communicate at the 9th International Day of Yoga, attended by top UN officials, diplomats and prominent personalities. On Tuesday, Modi met prominent US personalities from different walks of life, including Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who asserted that Bharat has more promises than any other large country and then he is incredibly excited about its future. Asked if Tesla will enter the Bharat market, Musk said he was planning to visit the country next year. I am confident that Tesla will be in Bharat and will do so as soon as humanly possible, Musk said, adding he was a fan of Modi. Musk also said the social media giant he owns does not have a choice but to follow the logical government or it will be get shut down. He said when asked about the company's former owner and CEO Jack Dorsey's recent allegation against the Bharat government, the best we can do is to follow the laws in any given country. He said, there are different rules and regulations for different forms of government and we will do our best to provide the freest speech that is possible under the law, Musk added about it. Modi, who is visiting the US from June 21 to 24 at the invitation of US President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden, met over the 24 thought leaders from various walks of life, including novel literatures, economists, artists, scientists, scholars, entrepreneurs, academics, and health sectors experts. Next news is about what's wrong with the global counter-terror architecture. China on Thursday blocked an Bharat-US joint proposal to blacklist Pakistani terrorist Sajid Mir, wanted for his involvement in 26/11 Mumbai attacks, as a global terrorist. In a strongly worded reply, Bharat said it had righteous reason to believe something is genuinely wrong with the global counterterrorism architecture. If we cannot get stabilized terrorists who have been banned across global landscapes prescribed by the United Nations for petty geopolitical interests, then we really do not have the genuine political will to sincerely fight with this challenge. Prakash Gupta on Bharat diplomat said while addressing the UN's counter-terror meeting. Beijing blocked the proposal that had been moved by the US and co-designed by Bharat to blacklist Mir under the 1267 AI Coda Sanctions Committee of the UN Security Council as a global terrorist and subject him to assist freeze, travel ban and arms embargo. The move times deliberately with Modi's first state visit to the US and came hours before he landed in New York to lead the International Day of Yoga celebration at the UN. Mir is one of Bharat's most wanted terrorists and has a bounty of 5 million placed on his head by the US for his role in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. In June last year, Mir was jailed for over 15 years in a terror-facing case by a court in Pakistan. Pakistani authorities had in the past claimed Mir had died, but Western countries remained unconvinced and demanded proof of his death, and issues become a major sticking point at FATF's assessment of Pakistan's progress on the action plan late last year. It was the fifth time that China has blocked an Bharat-US proposal in recent months. Beijing had blocked moves to prescribe Lashkar-e-Taiba member Said Mohammad in October. Late and Jamaat Uddadawa JUD leader Abdul Rahman Makki in June, Abdul Rauf Azhar in August, among others. Next news is about new pension formula for 2024. Yes, the Modi government is planning to tweak the new pension scheme NPS to assure its employees a minimum pension of 40% to 45% of their last ground salary. Reuters reported, quoting unnamed government officials. This could be done by altering the current market-linked pension scheme to excuse some holdout states, it said. The move comes after the government set up a committee in April to review the pension system in a year prepared with state elections leading up to the Lok Sabha in 2024, when the BJP-led NDA government will seek a rare third consecutive term. The relook at the current pension system comes against the backdrop of opposition to the NPS, adopted after a significant fiscal reform in 2004 by Atal Bihari Vajpayee-led NDA government. This move also comes when some opposition-ruled states have switched back to the older, fiscally straining system of fully funding a guaranteed pension. This was an election issue in the assembly election in Himachal Pradesh last year, Karnataka last month, and Rajasthan that goes to the polls a few months later. Rajasthan, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Himachal Pradesh and Punjab have already gone back to the office. The NPS requires employees to contribute 10% of their basic salary and the government 14%. The eventual payout depends on the market returns on the corpus, which is mostly invested in federal debt. The old pension system guaranteed a fixed pension of 50% of an employee's last run salary without requiring them to contribute anything during their working life. Current returns shows employees get around 38% of their last salary as pension. Under the tweaked NPS, the employees and the government could still make contributions while employees get an ensued 45% to 45% of their last drawn salary as pension. But we will not go back to the old pension system, said one senior government officials about it. The next news is about a message for Congress ahead of opposition unity meet. Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal has written to opposition leaders asking them to discuss the centre's ordinance on the control of administrative services in the national capital at the meeting of non-BJP parties in Patna. The Aam Aadmi Party chief asked other opposition parties to flag the matter as a priority and clear their stand on it. Kejriwal, through a letter sent to opposition leader on Tuesday, asked them not to think of the Delhi ordinance as a Delhi-centric problem and claimed that if not resisted, and the BJP-led centre may bring similar ordinance for other states too by symmetrically tweaking laws and introducing new ones on subject that comes under the current list. Kejriwal's main message to opposition leaders asking them to making their stand clear on the Delhi ordinance issue seems to be targeted at the Congress. All other opposition parties, Tribunal Congress, Nationalist Congress Party, Shiv Sena, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Communist Party of India, CPI, DMK, Samajwadi Party, Rashtriya Janata Dal and Janata Dal United, who are supposed to attend the Patna Convention on the June 23, have expressed solidarity with Kejriwal on the Delhi ordinance issue and agreed to oppose it in the Rajya Sabha when it is tabled as a bill. The Congress sees AAP as a political opponent and it has yet not taken a stand on the Delhi ordinance issues because of two broad reasons. First, the grand old party is facing resistance from its Delhi and Punjab units. In these two states, AAP has crushed the Congress, and second, AAP's expansion plan is in conflict with Congress ambitions, and it is believed that AAP took away a significant chunk of Congress votes in the Gujarat polls, and it can do the same in other states in the coming time. Kejriwal has sought an appointment with Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge and senior leader Rahul Gandhi to discuss the Delhi ordinance issue, but so far the two leaders have not given him time for a meeting. Next news is about illegal migrants fuel Manipur. Congress leader Sonia Gandhi on Wednesday appealed for peace in violent hit Manipur, while NCP chief Sharad Pawar maintained that PM Modi is currently visiting the US should focus on tackling the country's internal situation. For nearly 50 days, we have witnessed a great human tragedy unfolding in Manipur, the unprecedented violence that has devastated the lives of people in your states and unrooted thousands has left a deep wound in the conscience of our nation, Gandhi said in a video message about this. An official survey by the Manipur government claims that over 2,000 legal immigrants from Myanmar have set up settlement in 41 locations, 4 of districts. Last week, Chief Minister N. Biren Singh said that infiltrators from across the border and militants had caused the unrest in the state. The survey was suppressed by a cabinet subcommittee headed by the Tribal Affairs and Hill Development Minister Laptop Hakobi on one of the 10 MLAs who are now pressing for a separate administration for the 50s of them, 7 including Hockey are from the ruling BJP's new agency reported. The panel constituted by the Manipur governor in February also included state ministers Amgavalo, Nevmai and Thongome Basanta. The survey reports submitted to the government on June 6 said that the highest number of 1,147 Myanmar nationals were currently residing by the Tangonnupal, followed by 881 in Chandel, 154 in Churanchandpur and 5 in Kamjong. Manipur shared around 400 km unfenced border with Myanmar. The report said that the Manipur government's war on drugs campaign has badly affected the popular cultivation and narcotics business run by the Myanmar nationals in the state. Due to this reason, the recent violence in Manipur was fueled by influenced illegal poppy cultivators and drug lords from Myanmar settling in Manipur. Kuki groups have alleged that the Manipur government, in the name of trying to identify illegal immigrants, has been harassing Bharat's citizens. They say Kukis have been living in the hills of Manipur for decades and even fought against the British in what is now known as the Anglo-Kuki War 1970 to 1990. The next news is about the record Sensex rally. Benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty railed to close at all-time highs on Wednesday following buying in index measures HDFC Twins and Reliance Industries. Positive trends in European markets also added to the momentum in domestic equities. Bharat markets are reflecting a global trend with most markets in the US, Europe, Japan, South Korea and Taiwan hovering around their 52-week highs. The return of fields of two Bharat markets since April has boosted sentiments even as a domestic investors continue to repose confidence in Bharat equities. Easing of retail inflation to 4.25% in May, promoting the RBI to keep the rates bottom in the pause mode for the second consecutive time. An indication that the rate hike cycles are over. Sentiments in the US markets are that the country might avoid recession, a fear that has loomed since last year. This has seen global markets correcting the wrong discounting of last year. Next news is about a war of words over Gandhi Peace Prize. After the Congress questioned the selection of Geeta Press for the Gandhi Peace Prize for 2021, its leader in the Lok Sabha Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said he was neither invited to its meeting nor informed about the decision. I was not even told about the meeting for the decision of giving the award. I have never been invited to any meeting. One I only came to learn from the newspaper, he said when asked whether he was aware of the decision taken by the panel. Someone has been awarded and I got the news from the media, he added. Chaudhary is member of the selection panel in the capacity of the leader of the largest opposition party in the Lok Sabha. The Culture Ministry of the central government, however, refuted the claim made by Chaudhary, saying that he had acknowledged the decision to the selection panel. The government put out the details of the communique sent to Chaudhary's office, including the acknowledgement received from his office. The Gandhi Peace Prize is an Apple Award instituted by the government in 1995. It can be given to individuals, associations, institutions or organizations. It carries a cash prize of Rs 1 crore, a citations, a plaque and an executed traditional handcrafted item. According to the code of procedure, the awardee award is co-selected by 5-member jury chaired by the PM. Its members are the CJI and the leader of opposition and 2 eliminated persons. Congress Jairam Ramesh alleged that Geeta Press and Stormy relations with Mahatma Gandhi. He said the decision is really a travesty and is like awarding Savarkar and Godse. Next news is about Assam CM and his constituency. The Election Commission EC draft deliberations proposal for assembly and parliamentary seats in Assam snowballed into a controversy on Wednesday, with political parties training guns at one another as well as the EC. Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sarma has expressed sadness over ramifications of his Yukwabri constituency. The draft deliberations published by ECI states that the current Jalukbari constituency, which happened represented since 2001, will no longer exist as it has been divided into 3 parts. I am feeling very saddened by this news. However, I welcome the draft paper as it accurately reflects the sentiments of Assam, Sarma said in a tweet about it. Assam Congress President Bhupen Kumar Bora questioned the Central Election Agency for hurriedly publishing the draft when the matter is sub judice in the Supreme Court. The main opposition party also slammed the EC for acting as an extended arm of BJP under a conspiracy to safeguard to the vote bank of the Saffron Party. The AIUDF not only criticized the EC and the ruling BJP but also trained guns at the Congress, calling it the B team of the BJP, accusing both parties of working towards reducing Muslim representations. Assam Gana Prasida's AGP Pradeep Hazarika strongly opposed the draft proposal, which eliminated his constituency Amguri in Upper Assam. The AGP is a part of the ruling alliance. The EC on Tuesday proposed to retain the number of assembly seats in Assam at 126 and the Lok Sabha constituencies at 14 as it released the draft deliberations document for the state. The poll panel has proposed that the assembly seats reserved for scheduled castes as increased from 8 to 9 and 4 scheduled seats from 16 to 19. It has also suggested 2 parliamentary seats for STs and one of SCs. About 37% of the state's voters are Muslim and there are 30 Muslim MLAs. 16 from the Congress and 14 from the AIUDF in the current assembly. Some political observers speculate that the deliminations exercise can reduce that number to 24. The next news is about the Honey Singh complaint. Singer and music producer Honey Singh submitted a complaint to Delhi police on Wednesday alleging threats from Canada-based youngster Goldie Barar demanding Rs 50 lakh through voice notes and phone calls. The police said they have registered a case of extortion and criminal investigation in connection with the matter. Barar claimed responsibility for the killing of singer Sindhu Moosewala last year and was later identified as the mastermind in the case in the police charge sheet. That's all for now. We will meet you again with more news. Thank you for being with us till the end. Keep watching India Live to stay connected with every news of our country. Thank you.